everybody, and welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. I am in snowy Eastern North Carolina. We got like 3 inches of snow last night near the beach. So kind of crazy for here, but it is all good. As an event planner, do you struggle with having plant-based and vegan dishes for your guests? I know I do when I go and plan meetings across the country. So I have brought you this gentleman here from the San Diego Convention Center, Chef Sufi Karaien, who is the ex-chef at the San Diego Convention Center, and he leads culinary operations for one of the busiest convention centers in the United States. He was recently named a San Diego's 40 Next Business Leaders Under 40. Congratulations. And he became the executive chef of the Convention Center in 2021 and joined the Convention Center in 2017 and Sodexo Live, which has been running the food and beverage culinary program at the San Diego Convention Center. I think you said for 35 years now, right? Okay. So we're going to talk about plant-based, vegan dishes, vegetarian dishes, and how to incorporate them into large catering conventions, because you plan conventions for thousands of people every day. So welcome to the show.
It's wonderful to be here, Tracy.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're in a much warmer place than 20 degrees warmer, I guess, than where I am right now. But as I said before, planners have a struggle a lot of times when we go to hotels and convention centers to get vegan options. It's like, here's your pasta primavera, right? Or here's some pasta with some olive oil on it and some broccoli that's maybe not cooked all the way or overcooked. Can you tell us, let's just kick off. How do you approach adding vegan and vegetarian dishes that have quality to them for conventions?
Well, you pull from your staff's capabilities, you pull from your history as a chef, you pull from your clients' needs. More so than anything here in San Diego, we want to pull from our regional produce that's constantly available. And being a chef in San Diego is one of the nicest places to be a chef in the nation. I mean, our produce is grown locally and it's grown year round, especially in greenhouses in the wintertime. So we have this opportunity to put the best ingredients forward on the dishes that we create and create kind of amazing culinary experiences for all our guests, especially any guests that may have a dietary restriction. We treat all our menus the same way. We want to create vibrancy. We want to create very citrus forward, bright menus, obscene amounts of color and flowers and micros and all the good things that the tools that chefs use. But more so than anything, we want that meal that guest is having here at the convention center to be memorable.
Well, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. As somebody who does have dietary restrictions, I really appreciate that. But why? I mean, I think, is making vegan dishes that hard? I mean, it seems when I go to other places, getting people to have creativity with vegan dishes is extremely hard.
Creating plant-based cuisine, I don't consider it hard. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to create a dish that has enough nutritional value to kind of really satisfy somebody's hunger, but also be very, very pretty, also be very, very creative. I think the real key is getting ahead of it and putting pen to paper and working with our team of chefs and our team of cooks in the kitchen and developing menus that we can serve at a variety of our events.
Here's some pictures from your dishes at the convention center.
That's fine. So that dish right there, that's a vegan mango taco. It's gluten-free as well. We have beautiful jicama. So the taco shell is made out of jicama. We served it on a little salt block just to add a little bit of flavor and put a slice of local tangerine next to it. Pickled Fresno chili, local micro flowers that actually have great flavor. And then applied, some culinary techniques to the mango and the jicama to give them a little bit of additional flavor. That's kind of a quick nosh 1 or 2 bite hors d'oeuvre that's very cheap to produce, that's very colorful and flavorful. And it's not necessarily a filler, right? That could be a showstopper when it comes to a reception, especially if we do have a lot of vegans and gluten-free individuals in the crowd.
Well, and that's, I mean, I love that because it makes everybody feel the same and they're experiencing the same kind of dish as everyone else. I think is that a scallop or what is that one?
That's a scallop. We make a vegetable ash aioli where we take poblanos and serranos, jalapenos, de-seed them, turn them into charcoal, kind of grind that up into kind of the consistency of fine ground espresso, fold that into an aioli, and it has this deep, deep, incredible flavor. Now that we have put on the side of many vegan ceviches and aguachiles that we produce with either jackfruit or young coconut is a phenomenal ingredient for a dish like that.
All right.
A lot of flavor.
A lot of flavor. And that's what you want, right? You want lots of flavor. Let's put us back up here. You want lots of flavor in those dishes because you want people to come back. Like I was telling you earlier, when people come to San Diego for a show here at the San Diego Convention Center, oftentimes they're eating at their hotel or here at the center. That's their entire culinary experience in San Diego. So applying those cool chefy kind of techniques that we have learned to love over the years, and all those cool aiolis and all the things that we create, but applying that to the vegan dishes that we make as well creates a real satisfying experience for our guests. And again, creates that memory about San Diego. And if we can invoke a feeling from within with our guests when it comes to the foods that they eat and incite memories and whatnot, well, then we're winning. And these guests return to San Diego, and that keeps us really happy as chefs. No, that's awesome. And we've got, let me see if I can pull this one up here too. We've got some people over on Instagram. We've got Qualina from Event Essentials, and Char Nolan has joined on Instagram, as well as your team. Sodexo Live is there. But Char just asked this question. I'm going to put it up here. How do you provide flavor without salt and oil?
Citrus, herbs, cooking techniques. You can sear in the oven nowadays. We have really powerful equipment. Convection ovens that you can get at really high temperatures to create a sear without too much oil on the surface of whatever you're trying to sear. I remember I did an event for the Gerson diet, and there was very little oil. I think it was just flax oil and zero salt. So we went really heavy on herbs, citrus, mushroom powders, and whatnot, just other flavors that can create umami without the use of salt. And here in our commercial kitchen, of course, we use high quality kosher salt or sea salt as well, but we can omit that and create really flavorful dishes just the same.
That's awesome. Qualina is saying that she sees a lot of the vegan dishes that she sees is mushrooms, quinoa, tomatoes, but we don't have to. Oh, Char just said, bravo, perfect answer. Gave you a 100. On your response to the how do you use without the oil and the salt. So, but Qualina was asking, like mushrooms and quinoa and tomatoes. I mean, quinoa is a complete protein. Do you use it a lot, or do you use other things to help provide vegan dishes?
All the time. We use quinoa, kaniwa, ancient grains, and a lot of the dishes that we create that are just on our standard catering menu. Again, if you check out the San Diego Convention Center website, visit sandiego.com, and check out some of our catering menus. You'll see a lot of hearty, complete proteins just built into our menus. A lot of our menus are just naturally gluten-free. And when we can create vegan options that are hearty and flavorful, we do. And we include those on our menus as well. And those items are very popular. So we like to see the trend continue, and we like to see the new ingredients from our vendors and come up with great cooking techniques to incorporate those ingredients into the menus that we serve here at the Convention Center.
Well, and I just pulled up I just put it in the chat, the actual link to the food and beverage page at the Convention Center, so everybody can get to that. And I'm impressed that you actually have your menus on there. So thank you very much. Sometimes it's a struggle to find menus. You have to request them. So that's awesome that you have them up there. Can you share some innovative techniques that you've used to replicate traditional meat textures and flavors in the vegan dishes? And I'm going to preface that with my thought process too. I'm like, I can take this down now. Why do you want tofu to taste like chicken if you're not eating chicken or beef and things like that? But that's just my thought process, right? Or sometimes my feelings on that. But how do you do, because there is a different texture when you're eating an animal-based protein. And do you feel like the vegans are looking for that, or are they just looking for good flavor profiles?
Tracy, we're having a little bit of connectivity issues. I'm just cutting in and out a little bit. However, I think I got the gist of your question.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't want tofu to taste like chicken. We don't want tofu to replace chicken. We want tofu to be the best tofu that we can create and serve. So we apply cooking techniques that are great for tofu to tofu. We do bring in a variety of plant-based like protein replacements, your Beyond Meat, Impossible Meat, that kind of thing. As this type of cuisine is growing and becoming more prevalent in kind of daily life, we're seeing a lot better options for plant-based protein substitutes, but we try to use them sparingly. We, again, try to kind of stick to our guns and go a lot of whole grains where possible, a lot of beans and legumes and freshest vegetables available. But, we do make substitutions when applicable. Sometimes it's appropriate to include that on a dish, whether we want to make, Beyond Beef kofta kebab and serve that with some Iranian rice. We're doing that for a very large scale event coming up. It was the right item for that dish. And it presented well at a tasting, and that's the direction that we're going to go. But, if I can stick to using young coconut in place of fish for aguachile and kind of embracing the coconut flavor and elaborating upon that with some basil oil and pickled chili and whatnot, like that's a win. That's something new that we've created that will then hopefully turn into a popular menu item. And we do the jackfruit in a crab cake, jackfruit replacing crab in a crab cake. It's very, very popular. But again, I just really want to stress bringing in an interesting and unique variety of produce from our local suppliers and putting those forward on all the menus that we create.
That's awesome. And that's a good question too. Your local producers, you're in California, so you have a lot more abundance of year-round vegetables and herbs and spices and fruits. What is I'm assuming it changes throughout the season, seasonal no matter what, because even when you're in California, but is there something that vegan wise and plant-based that you keep throughout the whole year?
Sure, absolutely. Some of those meat substitutes, yeah, I have an inventory of those and I apply those. We try to find new cooking techniques for all of that and new ways to introduce those items into some of the dishes that we create. You got to remember, we're creating breakfast, AM break, lunch, PM break, reception items, dinner items. So we need a variety of tools in our toolbox to really create variety. If somebody's here and have a dietary restriction and they're here at the convention center for a number of days, and we're the ones that are feeding them during their stay in San Diego. So yeah, we have all kinds of vegan and gluten-free pastas and dry goods like quinoa and kaniwa, like we mentioned earlier, in our inventory at all times. And then we incorporate those in with seasonal ingredients that we get from our local purveyors to kind of mimic the foods that we're serving to the rest of the guests, or have those vegan items or gluten-free items be the food that we're serving to everybody and all attendees at the convention center, which is something that we've done in Meatless Mondays to kind of put the sustainability spin on it. And we've created, full 3-course menus for plate ups. We've done entire vegan gluten-free buffets, run the gamut of vegan and gluten-free breakfast items. You need kind of an arsenal of tools to really create all these amazing experiences for our guests. So we like to have some stuff here year round, but of course we're chefs. So we want to always highlight the seasonality of our produce and ingredients out of the sea, off the land. And we partner up with great purveyors that allow us to do that.
That's awesome. What has been so 2 questions from that. One, what has been the response from your planners and or the guests that are vegan, vegetarian eating, there for 4 days? Have you seen it? Are you getting rave reviews from individuals? And then the second question in that too is, how many dishes of the vegan plant-based are incorporated into the overall menu as a whole? I mean, are you looking at everything besides what's the protein that's on the plate to be vegan vegetarian, or does it vary? That's two different questions. Did you get it?
Well, I'm sure your audience is the type of people that work with me on a consistent daily basis, right? Meeting planners and people in the events industry. We run a huge variety of different types of food service here at the center. In any large operation, you'll have your retail outlets, you'll have just straight catering, you'll have catering on the show floor, and the menu mix may dictate a little bit where we can include vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, plant-forward dishes, seasonal dishes that have a low carbon footprint. But it's really up to the meeting planner and the chef to kind of come up with a meal program that, one, can accommodate everybody, and two, that if we're not doing a meal program that accommodates everybody and we're serving more traditional foods, to have the ability to accommodate any guest with special dietary concerns, whether that's kosher, halal, many, many allergies. And then the caveat is, if that's the direction that we're going to go, I want to make sure that there's a chef handing that food to the guest. That personal interaction needs to be there. That conversation needs to happen. A lot of our guests may have allergies that are pretty severe. And so we see that daily here. And, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is our ability to have a large culinary team and have somebody from the culinary team actually handing out any kind of special dietary dishes to our guests and having that conversation with them. And guess what? That chef's going to be there tomorrow when you're here for your breakfast or before you go in to lunch or a reception or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to have consistency there. We like to have that little bit of personalization as well. I think that really kind of makes the whole program well-rounded.
Yeah.
However, we've done, full 3-course meals for thousands and thousands of people that were gluten-free, nut-free, vegetarian, vegan. We've done meatless Mondays as well for a group who may not be a meatless group, but wants to have an impact this year on their sustainability goals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we can talk about. And then, that's just a partnership between myself, our sales team, and our clientele, and kind of, we attack that during menu development.
And that's great. So let's jump to that sustainability side of that too. Sodexo is known for its sustainability program across this country. Molly Crouch, and who I know personally, I know she's part of that program. How did the plant-based meals are designed to go into that, feed into that sustainability program? And then how do you communicate that out to the meeting planners as well as then their attendees?
It's simple. Like, one, we have people like Molly Crouch involved in our company, and Molly and I have collaborated on multiple occasions, and having some representative of your company who's very well invested in sustainability is key. When we get to writing plant-based menus and developing menus with our clientele, we want to look at the environmental impact. Going with plant-based menus kind of reduces environmental impact by using fewer resources from the land or water. We convey this message on sustainability tours frequently. We'll carve out some time where a group of guests can come into our kitchen, see our back of the house operations, kind of see our, full line of waste streams. I always joke around that I talk about our waste streams just as much as I talk about our food here at the center, but that's very, very important. It's important to our clientele as well. Very important for our city. We have that strong partnership. We just always are very transparent about what we can do, what we don't do, what the city can and can't accept. So just that communication is always there, but we also communicate it via signage and menus, and the menus themselves, of course, and then collaboration with our clientele. Maybe they can include it in the app for the show, or a published menu somewhere on the app or somewhere in the building. We can, give out links to local farms that we use. We, highlight local produce all over our menus, and kind of utilize some of those other tools that chefs have and clients have to kind of convey those messages.
That's awesome. You're like a dream chef. I want to come have all my meetings at the San Diego Convention Center because you're
quote you on that. We'll find a way.
Okay. I mean, you're saying everything that I like kind of preach all the time. And it's how do we get the rest of the industry, to do what you all are doing and to step up on that when it comes to this looking at vegan and plant-based options and the sustainability aspect of it?
There's a time and place for it. I think it's important for the chefs and our clientele to be flexible. You may not always be able to achieve 100% sustainability or 100% plant-based on your menus, but as long as you're flexible and open to it, you'll find that just fosters creativity. And once, like for me as a chef, once I include the team in on that and, our garde manger department, banquet department, pastry department, and all our cooks that are working in those departments, now you see that creativity really blossom in our kitchen. Do that over time and it becomes part of the culture. And that's what we really strive for here in San Diego. That's what some of our sister properties are really striving for. Again, it's a little bit easier to do that in California with all our bright, vibrant produce all around us, more months out of the year. However, I think that mentality doesn't change, right? So as long as you know that, you may not be able to achieve 100%. However, let's really shoot for 90% or 85% sustainability across our menus or 85% vegan options on this breakfast, whatever. That's great. That's a great start. You're way ahead of the curve. And that's kind of where we like to live and work. It's ahead of that curve.
And so I want to jump back to, you said Sodexo Live has been with, and Center Plate Sodexo Live has been with the center for 35 years now. Have a lot of the culinary team and the front of the house team been there as long as that? Because I love meeting the people that work in our convention centers and hotels that have worked in properties for like their entire lives. Is it the same with the convention center?
Yeah, I was talking to our CEO yesterday here at the convention center, and we were talking about the institutional knowledge that's here. It's superb compared to every other property that either of us have ever seen.
Yeah.
I have cooks on our staff here that have been here from the beginning. They've been here for 35 years. We have managers in the front of the house in our banquets department that have been here for 30 years, 35 years. And having that type of tenure in a property like ours is one of the most important things that leads to kind of this culture of innovation and this culture of sustainability. We have the basics down. We have that knowledge building already, and we have staff that are really fine-tuned and are great at their jobs. Now we have an ability to kind of step back and look at innovation and foster an environment where our cooks and our banquet servers and our bartenders and our managers can all apply their creativity to what we do. I think that's kind of what sets us apart from a lot of other properties in the nation, really, is that tenure of our staff really translates well into the quality of what we produce here on a daily basis. We're all really proud of that. I think the staff all hold their head really high when talking about the duration of time that they've been a part of what we do. Yeah.
No. And I think it's a testament to our industry as well, for people who will love their jobs so much they stay in them for that long. But on that same note, I mean, somebody could say, all right, I've been 35 years, but that's not how we do it. Like you came into your job in 2017 and 2021. Well, we don't provide vegan dishes or whatever. So have they like jumped on board with provide like this innovation that you keep talking about? I mean, are they really excited about learning and different ways to cook foods so that it's not including dairy or not including oil or not including beef bouillon, things like that?
Sure, not including flour and right, making roux for sauces and whatnot. I don't think we've made a roux here in quite some time. It's nice. It's good. We don't get too much resistance, because you want to foster that environment where people really learn. Also, if you're working somewhere, you're here for 35 years, you're going to want variety. You're going to want to learn new techniques. You're going to want to become better and not do the same thing every day. So I think our staff has evolved just as much as the trends have. I talk to our staff frequently about this. And, 35 years ago, we were serving maybe 5% vegetarian food. That's kind of evolved into what it is today. And a lot of it is for really positive reasons. It's for, good health and overall satisfaction with our guests. So their ability to evolve with our chefs and with the trends really kind of set me up for success. I always tell people I walked into a really nice thing. There was a long line of chefs here that really cared about producing high quality product for our guests. And each one has elaborated on that just a little bit more and just a little bit more kind of tuned to their style and their creativity and whatnot. And so when I walked in, I had this great foundation and I had this great built-in staff, and it was time for, me to apply my skills and my knowledge and work with the team to better hone their skills and their knowledge. And kind of, it's very cyclical. And at this property, we've been fortunate to have that cycle. And fortunately, we don't have that resistance. That's not a problem we face.
That's awesome. And
it's a testament to just having it as a part of your culture. If it's kind of in your daily conversation, even in employee dining, we want to have all our food labeled. We want to have all our food be labeled with allergens or whatnot. That's even our employees want that. So just having it in our culture, you kind of see it permeate throughout all our daily lives. And it really just creates a better quality product for our guests in the long run. It's really nice to see that happen.
Well, and I was going to say, your guests aren't the only ones with food allergies. Your employees do too, because they're, people who might have celiac disease or allergic to nuts or whatever. And so the fact that you do that in the company cafeteria, is awesome as well.
Yeah, we try to get better every day.
I just want to talk a little bit about food waste as well. How do you incorporate that into your kitchen practices to help them, what are you doing with potato peels and things like that to reduce overall waste in general? And then in the plating of dishes, how do we make sure that we're not over serving?
Well,
overproducing food.
Yeah, over-serving, overproducing may be a thing of the past. Hopefully we'll see that change. People are much more conscious about portion size now. And it's, we really don't like to see any food go to waste anymore. Like I said, I spend just as much time talking about our waste streams as I talk about our food itself. And that's a big conversation here. That's a big conversation at a lot of properties and with a lot of clientele. You apply the same kind of food cost strategy that you apply to everyday menus. So clever purchasing, working within season, not over serving, not overproducing, kind of seeing what comes back from every event, taking detailed notes on all our events and saving those year after year, because a lot of our, 60% of our business repeat clientele. So we're going to see this group again. It's very likely that we're going to see these groups multiple times. So we want to have detailed notes on what was popular, what actual consumption really looked like. That all helps us in the long run. But ultimately, it's very incremental, right? So you apply a food compost program. Mm-hmm. So where do you start? What do we do every day? We serve fruit every day. The guy that is peeling fruit every morning, we put a compost bin right next to his station. Now he's using the compost bin daily. So small win. How can we incorporate that into the rest of the kitchen? Then how can we incorporate that into our stewarding department? And then, hey, wait, do we really need to be composting any of this stuff? Or can we reincorporate, unpopular food scraps back into the dishes and bolster flavor and bolster creativity? So that's something that we look at. Can we donate the food that comes back post-consumer? Can we donate it to a farm where it can offset some animal feed? Or do we utilize that food for employee dining? There's a lot of food that comes back that's been refrigerated, that's been under, that hasn't been time temp abused, that is very fit for feeding people, donating people. And we work with local charitable organizations like Father Joe's or San Diego Food Bank and we have a stream for all that green waste. And one thing that we're really proud of here at the center is that 100% of our green waste, whether it's pre-consumer with food scraps or post-consumer and food that comes back from events, 100% of it is diverted out of the landfill and goes to either compost or animal feed or human feed. And that's something we're really proud of and we talk about frequently. But it was an incremental process to get there. It was just one step at a time. And again, evolving and having our staff evolve with trends, with our programs, with what the city is requiring, with what our clients want to hear and want to see. And, we like providing those metrics to our clients after events now as well. And so it takes some time to get there. It's not overnight.
Right.
But once you're there, it's very impactful, especially in the region that you're in.
Well, and it also then becomes second nature as well. Like, oh, why aren't you're not putting that in the right bin? Or, what can we do with this?
Exactly. Everybody has eyes on it now. And all our existing staff is training all incumbent new staff. And so seeing that happen live in front of your eyes is, it makes me really happy as a chef because now we see it as a part of our culture.
Right. And do you see them carrying that home, or do they talk about how they've carried that knowledge home to them, to their families or their communities?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We have, you see it the most around the holidays. We have, every walk of life that work here. People live all over San Diego County, and they find various organizations that are very near and dear to them that they've been maybe donating to for a consecutive amount of years. And so we'll get those inquiries from our staff, particularly around the holidays, where, hey, can we donate this leftover box lunches to this organization? Or can we route some food over here to this other organization? And kind of, we like to do that. We like to really be involved in our community. And a lot of times our employees kind of desire to do that as well, aligns right with ours. And so we partner with our employees sometimes. And some of the charitable donations that we make are initiated by our client or our internal employees. So that's really nice to see.
Awesome.
So again, it shows that it's part of our culture here, and it's kind of really nice.
That's awesome.
Nice environment to come to work to every day.
Right. All right. I want to jump back into the kitchen a little bit. Well, I mean, we're still in the kitchen, but as far as it comes down to plant-based and allergy menus, did you have to do any operational adjustments to accommodate plant-based items efficiently in a large-scale kitchen? And then also, how do you manage those individuals who have celiac disease or like a severe nut allergy? How do you manage that in the kitchen, to make sure that there's no cross contact or cross contamination with those?
Okay. So the biggest thing for us is just including these types of menu items in our daily menus. Okay. Again, just not including roux in any of our sauces and trying to avoid those sauces in the first place. It's not really representative of our cuisine in San Diego. Anyways, we don't have a lot of stick to the ribs types of cuisine in San Diego. And the types that we do have are typically gluten-free anyways, with like kind of that Baja influence and that Central California influence that we see. So if we can make an item gluten-free, we're making it gluten-free. If we can make it vegetarian, well, why not make it vegan? Why not make it vegan and gluten-free? So again, just kind of that training and having that knowledge in the kitchen to do so, and then building that into our menus. That's number one. When it comes to like severe dietary, again, having one person make that food and again, with a tenure in our staff, it's like same guy every event who knows the drill. He knows which cutting boards to use. He, knows where to find new fry pans and knows not to maybe fry a taquito in the same fryer oil that we may have fried a coconut shrimp in the night before, so on and so forth. Right. So that knowledge with our staff is really, really important. And then down in our breakdown stations, down in our events where we're actually serving the food, having a trained member of our staff, typically a chef, to actually make that connection with the guest and physically hand that plate to the guest. That's what we always strive to do. That's how you create that sense of comfort amongst the guests, our operation for one. And then that's just that level of customer service that we want to provide, especially to people who, they might go into shock if they eat something with tree nuts or peanuts.
Yep.
And so, it's a serious part of our business and we treat it very, very seriously.
That's awesome. I'm a little bit of a tangent on there because you said cost a few minutes ago too, but have you seen like cost differences or cost savings by making these dishes gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian, streamlining those menu options? Have you been able to reduce your food costs across the board?
It goes both ways.
Yeah.
Some items, absolutely. We were looking at that picture of the vegan mango taco. Yeah, that's cheaper than a regular taco. Absolutely. And it's a little bit laborious, but labor is always cheaper than food costs, especially now. Well, now we're starting to see a shift, especially in Southern California. Labor is kind of creeping up, food costs. However, that's a great example of an item that's very cheap to produce, especially when, mango is in season and tangerines are in season, and we're doing that for a voluminous amount of people. However, there are some items that go the other way. So if we're getting gluten-free, we have a gluten-free ravioli from a vendor that we love. It's amazing. It actually holds up better than a regular ravioli. It's also a vegan item. So we like to serve that. Again, it's a tool that we have in our arsenal. It's not that cheap, unfortunately, but it's a tool that kind of creates variety amongst our menus, and we kind of need all that, right? So our bake shop, regular flours, they're cheap. Gluten-free flour, not so much.
Exactly.
We try to avoid nut flour. Well, we don't have any hidden nut and any of our ingredients, kind of along the same lines of everything that we're discussing today. But some of those plant-based alternatives are really great for costs, and some of them not so much. I think finding that balance is really important for the chefs. Finding that balance is really important for the clientele. Ultimately, having that balance is what creates variety on your menus, and that's what's going to leave guests feeling like an amazing culinary experience, particularly if they are vegan or gluten-free or allergic to nuts or not.
Well, and when you're doing that, you're streamlining it so that, and because somebody asked me this question or said the statement, and they're like, we don't upcharge for a gluten-free roll, right? Or we don't charge extra for somebody who says they're gluten-free. Like when you're streamlining that, your costs, you're building that cost across the board, right?
Yeah. We build it into a lot of stuff. But we also customize a lot of menus here. I think 60-70% of our menus are custom. So even though our menu guide is a great foundation, and I really stand behind our menu guide, I feel like we have a great variety and selection, and especially when it comes to dietary restrictions on our menu guide, then our guests or our clients like to have custom menus for their program because their programs are unique. And so to create a culinary experience that's unique as well, sometimes you need to customize. I'll say right off the bat, if we're doing gluten-free vegan dinner rolls for 4,000 people, there might be enough charge for that. That's going to be a lot more expensive for me to purchase from one of our local bakeries or one of our local gluten-free vendors than a traditional dinner roll from our normal bakery or a dinner roll that's baked in-house. Right. So again, it's about finding that balance. It could be tipped in either direction, as a caterer and being here and running our business. Like we want to stay in tune with what's going to be both cost effective for us and our clientele. So again, I can't stress enough, having that conversation early in the menu development process is paramount. That's what's going to be the most important thing, to kind of develop menus that are right for your clientele, that are also right for the bank and the pocketbook.
Yeah, and I stress planning menus out as far in advance as possible because you can figure that out. No, this has been great. I really, really appreciate it. What is a trend that you see? Last question, going forward with plant-based and vegan and dietary needs, do you see something that's jumping out at you that's going to be the next trend in this?
I really hope it goes the direction I'm kind of seeing already, which is like more luxurious ingredients, right? Chefs
Okay.
love luxurious ingredients. We love all that stuff. But, seeing plant-based caviar on the market and plant-based, some higher end seafoods on the market, that's kind of cool. That gives us, again, more tools in our toolbox. That's more stuff for us to play with and create cool menus with. Just more flavor and some of the plant-based ingredients, better quality plant-based ingredients that may not have so much binders and fillers and gums and whatnot to kind of create that illusion of chicken or ground beef or whatever it may be, right? Just a little bit more kind of transparency on the ingredients list. And with that, of course, I think there's going to be a big emphasis on getting really simplifying it and getting just more whole foods, more whole grains, more complete proteins. And that's really nice to see as well, that, seeing that in the market and just at the grocery store or in the news or on TV usually leads to our broadliners carrying that item or, our vendors carrying that item more frequently or with greater inventory, which again, puts another tool in the toolbox for us chefs. So yeah, more whole foods, more luxurious kind of plant-based ingredients, and more flavor variety and honesty with some of the plant-based faux meats and faux chickens.
Right.
Definitely the direction I'm going in.
Okay, awesome. No, when I'm reading, there's so many gums that are in foods now that are in prepackaged foods now, like shifts or shelf stabilization kind of things. So no, I love that approach and I can't wait to come to San Diego and eat some of your food. So how can everybody go? Thank you. How does everybody get a hold of you?
First name dot last name at Visit San Diego. So SUFI.KARAIEN at visitsandiego.com, or just call anybody at the convention center or just walk in our doors and say, hey, where can I find Chef Sufi? And everybody knows where to find me. It's nice. We have a great team of employees here, and it's a very collaborative effort. And so people know that if you need to find the chef, they know exactly where to route you.
Okay, awesome. Well, Chef Sufi, I so appreciate you sharing your knowledge about vegan and plant-based and where it's going. And it's refreshing, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of places that we don't get it. So kudos to you for pushing this forward at the San Diego Convention Center. And I look forward to coming to see you.
I appreciate it. Look forward to having you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Stay tuned to next week. We're going to finish out the month talking about mocktails with one of Chef Sufi's colleagues at a different convention center. And we're going to talk about how we can incorporate plant or non-alcoholic beverages into our bar menus. But until then, stay safe and eat well, and follow eatingatameeting.com. Thanks. Thanks for listening to the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where every meal matters. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, your food and beverage inclusion expert. Call me and let's get started right now on creating safe and inclusive food and beverage experiences for your customers, your employees, and your communities. Share the podcast with your friends and colleagues at our Eating at a Meeting Facebook page and on all podcast platforms. To learn more about me and receive valuable information, go to tracystuckrath.com. And if you'd like more information on how to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line, then visit eatingatameeting.com.